up a donut.
That's right. Good morning. It is 22 minutes after 8 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning is Roswell Independent School District School Superintendent Brian Luck with us. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
How you doing today?
Not bad.
How was the new year?
Too quick.
Yeah?
Too quick. Had a good break, had an opportunity to kind of recharge a little bit.
Yeah.
Took a few days off.
Although the school district didn't really take much. I mean, we had the Pocorn tournament. There was a lot of stuff going on school district-wise during the holiday break here. So there was a lot of good stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. And that, kind of a testimony to quasi, dare I say, almost normal. You know, that's what you do over Christmas holiday.
Absolutely.
You play a little basketball, got the wrestlers coming in and out, and maybe an event or two for them. Got cheer and dance practicing, getting ready for their competition. So, no, you drive by, there's usually always something going on.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Busy time.
Of course, Brian joins us after school board meets every month here, and the first school board meeting of 2022 took place, and really this was, I mean, it's a special meeting even though it's on the regular time slot, but because it's the first of 2022 after an election cycle, we've got the new board members are sworn in and are official now.
Yes, sir.
On duty as school board members here, so that's what a lot of last night's devoted to.
It's pretty cool. The way it worked out, we had a special board meeting at 5:30. It was open to the public, and it's on our YouTube channel. So you could, if you missed it, you get a chance to go in. And
you can go watch it right now.
Got it on there. We swore in our two new board members and gave them that opportunity, and then had about 15, 20 minutes to just kind of let that set in for a second and, let them do some family things. And
because you kind of use like the December meetings to kind of congratulate, thank our previous board members, and now this month is like, hey, welcome aboard.
Let's go. Yeah,
we're hitting the ground running. Let's do this.
Well, and we did, and then we hit our regular agenda at 6 o'clock, and it was kind of funny. I mean, it was give or take 7:45, almost 8 o'clock, and board president Morales made a comment, so that just an FYI, this was kind of a fast one.
And don't get used to this.
Don't get used to the hour and 45-minute quick meeting.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about it that, we had the luxury on a couple items that we were going to wait and kind of let a month get through and let everybody get up and running before we brought them to them. They're nothing major, just, some more heavy duty kind of things that really wouldn't have been a good thing to, welcome aboard here. Let's go do this kind of a thing. So, but came in and very receptive and have hit the ground running. And I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is, all of it's obviously new to me, but even this, just a little bit more newness to add to it, and looking forward to getting to work.
I'm curious, and this is just a personal question. You can go tell me pound sand, but I mean, for you, and we kind of talked about this about a year ago when you first started, but looking later here, like the job of superintendent, obviously, your time at Goddard, you're in the district, probably a lot of you know as the principal of Goddard prior to this here, and that's probably where people most know you in that circle, maybe from other stuff. But I think most people, oh yeah, old Principal Goddard there. That's kind of what they think. Looking back here now at this point, how much new territory you're covering here in the superintendent role? I mean, or because really, if you look at it, principal in essence is the same thing, just on a different level. You know what I mean? You're doing the same thing just at Goddard, where now you've got to do it for the whole district. So I imagine there probably is a lot of stuff that's old hat, but I mean, is it a lot of eye-opening stuff for you since you got a year or two under your belt and kind of this is you got the day job down and the routine down, so to speak.
Well, I the smart aleck in me wants to go, let me think about it. Yes, but I will say this. I mean, I think it's just like any other job. You can have an idea of what you think you're going into.
Sure.
But until you sit there and have everything kind of do what it's going to do.
Sure.
I'll be honest. I knew the people that were in front of me made the job look real easy. And I'm not saying I thought it was an easy job.
Sure.
I'm just saying they always seem to handle, and they just always seem to have the right answer.
You saw the duck part you saw the above the water part of the duck instead of the below the water line.
But it has been interesting. I mean, I people ask, and I say, well, there's never a dull moment.
I don't find hard to believe.
But it's as the year has progressed, it's amazing to me. It's almost two jobs right now with COVID. That there is the job of superintendent, just like there would be a job of teacher right now.
Yeah.
And then there's a job of superintendent dealing with COVID, just like there's a job of teacher dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
And it's, you can't, every time you feel like you can just devote everything to that second one, something always seems to kind of keep popping its head up. You know, the in and outs of the district, the staff at central office. I mean, like I said, I try just to stay out of their way. I mean, they know what they're doing. They've got great direction, and coming in and taking over with, you know, Mike's leadership and it, like I said, it was a fairly smooth transition, but it's been a pretty big learning curve. I mean, they're, you know, learning the ways, you know, ins and outs of the state stuff, and now we're fixing to roll into a legislative session. So
and let's be honest, the goalposts have changed 50 times since you've taken. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is the rules, you know, what are expected, how to do things. Just when you kind of get a system in, they turn around and say, "Oh, new variant, new thing. We gotta relook at our protocol here." And basically the district says, "All right, well, here's what we got," and then you got to turn on a dime and do that. And yeah, there's always grumbling and things, but you know what? It gets done, and it happens, and that's a testament to the people that
you're right,
call the RISD home here as employees. You know?
I think, you know, as far as what you just said, I think like the staff, the teachers, the parents, that's the group that's had to, you know, for me, it's well, we'll have to do this differently.
Sure.
And then for everybody else, it's well, how are we supposed to do that? And how does that impact me as a parent? How does that impact me as a teacher and a student? You know, I mean, that's the group that's really weathered. You know, I mean, I get frustrated, and I can't imagine what it's like.
But they're the ones actually.
They're the ones in the
moving
trenches,
parts that are happening.
and you know, they talk about turning a ship, and I'm just like, you know, from the top, you know, turning the wheel. There's a lot of things that happen just to get those things moved. So, you know, I've talked going out to the schools that as a second semester talk that, you know, we've defined a box, and you know, my hope that when we went home for Christmas break and came back, that we've kind of had a decent idea of what our parameters were. And we may not like our parameters, but I knew what bad looked like, and I knew what good looked like inside that. And you know, kind of establishes, I say a new sense of normal, and everybody gets excited because they don't want this normal. And I don't want some of it either.
Right.
But it does give you a little bit of peace to go, well, I know what's expected.
Sure.
I know what could happen if things aren't right. But you know, again, we're here. We're in school.
It's one of those things. It's like, okay, I may not like the marching orders, but at least I have marching orders.
Right.
At least I have an objective now, and I know what I've got to do. Because and let's face it, teachers, and they did an amazing job in that time. But that first part of the COVID that first where we're doing remote learning and all that stuff, it was kind of a, hey, you just fake it till you make it.
Right.
There was no real implement, because let's face it, there wasn't the infrastructure either. Right. I mean, there wasn't the infrastructure to get that many students available access to remote learning in days time for it. It's just, you know, that's what you're asking. That's what basically they're asking schools to do. And that's a tall order. And that brings frustration. That brings confusion. That brings the lot of the issues that people are experiencing. But you know what? We got through it. We're going through it. We're dealing with it. We've got, you know, routines. We've got the kids are back in school. They're learning. We got to make up for some lost ground, and we're doing that. But you know what? We're overcoming and adapting. And regardless of where the direction of things or what you think the powers that be are making decisions, regardless of what your thoughts are there, you got to appreciate and admire the efforts and the work that's being done by the people that are just saying, dang it, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it because that's what they're doing. And we've got a lot of teachers and saying, look, I'm taking my instinct, my intuition as a teacher and trying to live in that world and make the things happen, because at the end of the day, my job is to educate your kids, and I'm going to do that come hell or high water. And that's what they're doing.
Well, and if you think about it, a year ago today, we weren't back in school. And I was visiting with a group of teachers the other day at one of the schools, and I brought that up. I said, you know, February, give or take mid to late February is when we went back last year. And I said, that feels like years ago. And granted, the first semester
You're
was
right.
tough. That fall semester was tough. There was a lot of reacclimating, a lot of even just I think everybody had an idea of what was lost, but I don't think we knew to the degree and to the extent some of the softer skills that were lost. Come in, sit down.
Yeah. How to be a
In-
student in a school environment. That's if you've never exposed to it, how are you supposed to know how to
Right.
act in it?
Well, and I laugh because I've gone into most buildings, and especially in the fall, I could find my second grade teachers just right away. and everybody's, well, what's so special about second grade? And I said, that was my COVID kids.
Yeah.
Those were kindergartners that didn't get to finish the year.
Yeah.
And they missed all of first grade basically.
They
And
got to
now-
learn to be students in school.
And now, so basically, you've got somebody that's got 3/4 of a kindergarten education in a little bit bigger body. And
Yeah.
oh, by the way, you're assuming that they have all of the other skills mastered that they would have always had in the second grade. And it's like I said, we've had some really interesting conversations about that. And again, my hope right now is that, okay, whatever normal is, whatever level we're at, we've established that.
Sure.
And then, I look forward to growth.
It's really that life training part that it got lacked out, and then we all go through it. How do you, how do you know to put your pants on? Because your parents told you how to do it. I mean, it's that. How did you know
Right.
to sit in your desk when you get? Because that's how the teacher told you to do. But if you've never been in a classroom, once you walk in, I'm like, what the heck am I doing now? Because I've never been in a classroom. I just talked to a teacher on a screen the whole time, and so. They don't know. They got to relearn that, and they got to learn the process and all that. And so, second grade teachers, that's why you're saying they're frustrated because, they're trying to teach second grade curriculum, but at the
right.
same time, they can't get them to sit at their desk because they don't know any better. That's
Well,
what
and
they're supposed to do.
and I just to be clear, that's of no fault of the parents too. I mean, for the last year and a half, it's impossible to try to teach a kiddo when there's it's
Well, they got to learn the routine. And they learn that in the school.
And there's 22 other kids in a classroom in a kindergarten or first grade classroom, 20 kids. And there's no way you could have replicated that at your house.
Sure.
You're doing the best you could and you were working with your kiddo, but there's just some things you can't replicate like that.
We teach kids manners and everything else,
Right.
obviously,
Sure.
but if you've never been in a classroom before and you want to communicate a message and you weren't told how to do that, you just blurt it out till someone said, "Yeah, you're supposed to raise your hand first."
Yep.
Well, you're not doing that at home, but if there's no knowledge of that, how are they supposed to know?
Right. Well, and I think, again, even visiting, I feel like as a group, we've kind of got a small handle on where we're at. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on. I'm not looking for anything in the second semester as far as, well, we've got to hit this or we've got to hit that.
Yeah.
I think we've accomplished the survival mode, and now we start to look at, okay, now what can we do in this mode?
Sure. Real quick, I want to mention this while I was talking to you, and just a comment more than anything. Of course, obviously, we talked about the reading program's been they've got a program. Now they're instituting it into the classrooms here. And my wife was just telling me the other day she had her first actual teaching the lesson plans to the kids and everything, and I think she likes it. She kind of, because it's different. So she's like, it's different, a lot more the instruction time. Like they break it down like an hour of instruction and an hour of like implementing the instruction kind of thing, doing activities that reinforce the instruction kind of thing. And it's different than how it was done before. But she's kind of like, I like, and I think the fact that there's a structured curriculum program now in place, it actually it kind of redefines how lesson plans are done a little bit and things. But now they like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. We got to do this, this, and this before we get to this, this, and this. And I think just that direction alone is a huge advantage for that she, I think, likes. And I imagine there's other teachers saying the same thing.
Well, and I hope so. I mean, a lot of time and a lot of energy went into picking that program. I have it was interesting because again, I'm coming at most of this from a secondary background. So whenever first got on board and they started talking about the different reading programs that we were using, and finally I had to start keeping a list, and it was started on one sticky note, and then it turned into 2 sticky notes, and I was visiting with my instructional team, and I said, okay, come here, I said, there's 2 sticky notes right here full of things. And so I asked him, I said, okay, tell me what this one is. And so we started going through them, and I was just like, all right, so you're telling me that we can utilize these as like they were meant to be, which is resources and not standalone. And they're like, you're right. So as we transition out and move from everybody all over the place to using this as our primary. And then, there's still some good work that can be done in some of those other
Absolutely.
resources, and use them for what they're for, which is again is a resource. But
Sure.
now that makes me feel good. And we've had a couple other buildings that have opted the early go with the reading. And again, I look for good things from that. Like
Yeah.
I said, there are a lot of really good people worked on that, and I'm excited
But
for it.
I think the biggest value out of it really is it gives, like you said, people want, hey, give me a marching orders, give me how I want to do this. It gives them that for a reading program now.
Structure.
And it's standardized it.
Right.
So in theory, that kid moves from one school to the other. He's not missing a beat. He's
Right.
going to be in the same lesson that he was at or she was at in the other school. So
Correct.
it's a good thing. So, as far as highlights from the meeting last night, is there anything we need to talk? I know we got really philosophical and all that, and which I love because that just gives people. But we do got to talk little nuts and bolts from the meeting last night here.
You know what? It was a pretty standard meeting. We had a couple, 2 or 3 recognitions. We had the Roswell High School STEM team got recognized for their participation in the Governor's Challenge. Our lady that was the front desk of the RISD, Lynn Suggs, had retired at Christmas, and took a minute just to kind of honor her. And it was funny because she wasn't saying anything. And, Mrs. Trujillo told her, said, if she would just say hello, y'all would all recognize her, because she was our primary receptionist there at the front desk for many years.
And you probably don't realize how special she was till she wasn't there the next day after she retired. You're like,
That's
yeah.
Yes, sir.
That happens. So, but you don't realize how. I mean, you love them and you value them, but you don't almost really appreciate how much you value them until they're not there to be there.
Absolutely. And I think that's for sure that's true in this particular situation, but I think that's true across the board too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Goddard High School cross country team for district champs had the coach in there last night, and he had done a little bit of work, and we could not find the last time that the girls cross country team at Goddard or either one of them had been district champs.
So it's been a while.
Took an opportunity to give them a little bit of love.
Absolutely.
Had Mr. Torres, the principal of Monterey Elementary School, do a 90-day update. We're trying to do one of those every board meeting, just a little 10, 15-minute presentation on what's going on.
Good deal.
Went through consent agenda and then had a couple of action items, just had some donations, approved an RFP for ELL services, just some bid process for that.
Okay.
Went through fixed asset deletion listings, making sure that everybody understands that we're doing our due diligence as far as moving things around and getting rid of school property.
Gotcha.
Making sure that's
So
done correct.
it's kind of housekeeping, basically.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the stuff we need, we're keeping, but the
Right.
stuff you're like, all right, it's time to retire that. Let's bite the bullet and retire it.
Right. And then did a little bit of board organization. We made sure that they voted for president. They kept Miss Morales as president.
Okay.
And then got them all set up we have 3 committees.
So was it like, you did a good job, you should do it, or was it not it and they did the
No, no,
I'm joking. But
well, it's funny because it opens up, and it was well done. I mean, you open it up for nominations, and I've seen years where you actually have a vote. Last night we didn't have a vote.
Okay.
Moved it on through, and then, like I said, picked up their committees, which is, a couple of those committees have got some pretty heavy work to be doing in the next, 60 days. Got them up and running, and then went through, superintendent's report, kind of did some updates on the district, some things that were going on that we've accomplished, and then rolled through our departments, and ended it up with an executive session. Rolled out of there probably about 8:15, 8:20, something like that. Not too bad.
yeah. But like I said, new members, don't get used to that.
Well, and it's funny because, I mean, I'd like to go home early too.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're doing business, you're doing business. And
it takes what it takes. Yeah.
That's the thing that I've noticed is that there's different times of the year that the ebb and flow kind of goes through it. And
Well, and I imagine here in a few months you'll start talking budget and stuff
Right.
here, and those get a little weighty long because you got a lot of dollars moving
Right.
around, and you got to account and make sure there's enough to go where it needs to go,
Right.
and they'll be relying a lot of department heads and principals and things to give good financial request lists and things. So that's a tedious process. So they'll be getting around on that part here before long. Here,
Yes, sir.
So.
And we've got a legislative session coming up, and it's going to be fast and furious. It's 30 days. We've had an opportunity as a superintendent's association to meet with our group.
Yeah.
Had a meeting last Friday evening with the Southeast New Mexico educators. Our local chapter,
Sure.
I guess, for whatever lack of a better word.
Sure.
And got an opportunity. Had a real nice sit down with them, and here's what we're seeing. These are the things that we're looking at, and just some good feedback from them.
Just out of curiosity, is there anything on the superintendent or the Board of Education's really radar in this legislation? Is there certain things that you're like, all right, we need to make sure they got this one right? Is there anything like that?
Tell you what, there's one big one, and this one is pretty huge for me, and it's hours versus days.
Okay.
We've always operated off of 1,080 hours. That's the minimum number that for secondary schools that you've got to put in, and then it differs a little bit for the primaries, but we utilize those.
That's your gospel. Basically.
That's my number, 1,080. I can shoot that out if I needed to, and then you figure 6.5 hours for a day, and then you start calculating that out, and then we've got 4 additional days, give or take, built into the system, and then the state comes in a couple of years ago and says, no, it's a day. It's a day, period. It's not hours, it's a day.
Okay.
Okay. So where we're at right now is when we're talking about extended learning time and or ELPT, and that's what happened last year is the state came in and said, you're going to have to add an additional 10 days to your calendar. Okay. So it wasn't hours, it was days.
Gotcha.
So that's where we lost the 2 days at Thanksgiving, and we lost a lot of the professional development and any of the days in the fall that just made the fall seem like it was its own year.
So maybe is the hours just too broad a term? We need to, the days too broad a term. We need to go back to the hours.
That was our push, and it was, we've asked for local control, and we've sort of backed off of the word control and moved with local flexibility.
What do you mean control?
Well,
just
and rightfully so.
I know what you're saying.
One of the individuals that was at the meeting said, we're elected to help make rules. And I said, understood, but then give us some flexibility within your rules.
Sure.
And that caught, the others were echoing the same thing, and that caught on, and that was one of those middle grounds of, okay, now we got you. We
Sure.
see what you're after here with this.
Sure. Give us a direction, and let us put the fine tooth comb through it to get to what you want in a way that works best for us.
Well, and if they were to come in now, our calendar set up next year is I believe it's 92 days in the first semester, 92 days in the second semester. So we have time built in, and if given the opportunity, we could make 10 additional days work however it needs to be within this calendar that doesn't have us going to school till the middle of June. Or running our people through the ringer in the fall semester just to take away the days.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you could, if you went back to hours even, like I know like there's early dismissal days and things. Well, you're like, well, if need be, we'll just make those full days. And in essence, that would count, is towards the hours as opposed to the days. And just little things like that gives you flexibility to fix it however you need to.
There's several things that could be done if just given the green light.
Sure.
And I think what's happened this year is given the COVID nonsense, there are districts that are doing things and then versus asking to do things, and I'm not quite ready for that yet, just because that's not the way I like to do business. If we're going to do something, I want to ask and make sure that everybody's on the well, the Roswell School District didn't just beg for forgiveness. They went through it and did it the right way. But like I said, that one's probably the biggest one for me is pushing for, give us that flexibility with, give me a marking stick that you want, and then let us go figure out how within our community and our district, the calendar committee 2 years ago did a phenomenal job this year to get us done.
Sure.
By the time we are, I mean, just in Roswell, and this is me just living here, basically my whole life.
Yeah.
School in June doesn't happen here, and it's interesting. I mean, we're already pushing back to that first week in August as it is coming back, and that's a sell. I mean, when you're saying, well, if they walked in and said it's 10 additional calendar days, period, have a great day, we either have to take away days that we've already got in the calendar right now, or you have to add days.
Sure. Well, and I would even offer or argue that, by giving you and the other districts more flexibility, maybe they've got a better way to do it than what you've thought of up there. And maybe you see that and say, oh, well, dang, Sandoval County or district, they got it right or whatever. Maybe we should look at what they're doing and try to implement that statewide or vice versa. Hey, why is it bad there? See what's going on in the RISD. Maybe they can see, pick their brain and do some things. I mean, it allows that creativity and that basically more ideas to the pot here, and more ideas are better as far as I'm concerned.
And I don't want to yield a negative impression of our legislatures. I mean, in a rational world, things aren't going well in the school districts. You know what? Let's give them a few more days, and let's pay them for a few more days. But let's give the let's just add some days to it.
Sure.
And it's not a bad thought. It just if we could morph that into what we need it.
Yeah.
And Artesia can do what they need, and Lovington, and because there are some districts that are still on a 4-day calendar, some of our smaller ones, and that's close to being on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and anytime there's pushback, and this is where I at the end of the day, when there's pushback about some change or some things like that, my argument is you realize the state of New Mexico has been dead last or near dead last in education as long as I've lived here, and it's been 20 plus years. As far as I'm concerned, all ideas are on the table to get this out of the basement. That's the way I look at it. And this, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality is not working clearly in the education side. Why are we different than these other states? Let's figure it out. And as far as I'm concerned, every idea to make that happen is a good idea.
Right.
So,
well, and that's interesting that came up the other night actually in our meeting, and the consensus that we always said was, well, that's not our district.
Yeah.
Well, you're speaking of the state, but that's not our district.
Yeah.
And that is still our state.
Yeah.
And it would be nice, like you said, for us to have the opportunity to look at the things that are working.
Sure.
And
let's spread the wealth.
And let's go for it.
Yeah.
And try to get out of that.
Sure. And then if there's an idea that we haven't thought of that someone maybe, or, hey, in Colorado they're doing this, or Texas they're doing this, maybe we should look at something like that. I mean, why not? That's, at the end of the day, we're trying to educate our kids and create a great future for New Mexicans. The only way we're going to do that is having a good education system. If you rank 50th in the state forever, guess what? You're going to get 50th product out forever. It's time to change that. So.
Is there?
Is there anything else before I got soapbox?
No. Like I said, we've got winter sports in the middle of competition right now. Had a big night last night over at Roswell High. Had a flip flop. Got the Roswell High girls with a win. And the Goddard boys with a win last night. So lots going on. Got wrestling going everywhere. They're always somewhere.
Get out to these home games and support them.
Yes,
that's a great thing. We're trying to bring as much as we can on the video, but
y'all are doing a great job. You guys are doing a phenomenal job, and you've got announcers that are coming in and they're working all day and they're doing that for the kids. And
these again teachers and things that are
it's so nice. It really is. I mean, I missed the game last night. I missed my daughter's game and got home from the meeting and pulled it up on the TV and got to watch it. And
we try to bring as many as we can. We can't do them all because of the bodies and logistics and everything else, but we try to do as many as we can. But if there's a game at home, get your butt in the stands and let's root on these kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's Goddard, Roswell, the middle schools, whatever. Those middle schools, they've got these great games that a couple parents show up to. Get out there and cheer on these kids and cheer on the show them what it's like to be supported and to be appreciated for what they're doing.
Well, and again, that's a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's games on Saturdays. There's mid-school basketball games on Saturdays. There's mid-school games on Tuesdays. There's wrestling events, and there's we'll transition into spring sports here pretty quick. And there's
we're talking baseball and softball before I know it.
And getting back into a pattern, a routine. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is. I feel like maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel here after the years that we've been.
I sure hope so.
Kind of dealing with this stuff, and we'll see for here. But yeah, we keep supporting your kids, parents. Keep getting involved, active. Stay in constant contact with your teachers and admin staff. So that, at the end of the day, is how you ensure your kids are getting a good education. You as parents, we as parents, all of us need to be involved in that aspect. Don't just, how was school today? Good, and move on with it. Get in there and be active. And I promise you, you're going to see the results, because when the teachers and the parents and the admin all work together, that's the trifecta you need to make sure that kid's education's good. All's got to be on that same page. Good deal. Well, anything I always get preachy, and I don't mean to. It just happens. I'd rather talk about dumb old man glasses all day.
I was worried I wasn't going to be able to compete with that.
Well, I want your opinion now, all right? I'm going to put them on for you. Do I look old man? I know by themselves they kind of have an old man look, but now that I've got them on, I mean, take my baldness and all that aside. Just right. Do I look like an old man with these things on? I'm
going to defer on that one. If they work, who cares what you look like?
That means yes, but I'll take it. I don't care.
I'm gonna say when you put them over the other glasses, you kind of did it, but
he's probably saying, if you get in before 4:30 at the buffet, you can save a few bucks. That's what he's about to tell me. Brian, as always, appreciate the visit, and if we need anything outside of our normal things, or just want to come in and hey, let's talk about what's going on. Open invite. Just let me know. So
much appreciated.
Anytime. Well, thank you, and don't work too hard.
No, sir.
All right. It is 8:54.